it's finally time for the talks. So this evening we'll have 3 different talks. We'll start with Mattias from AlgorithmWatch, and then Alberto from Dynamics, and the third one is going to be Evelina from Paltario, and then they're going to look at ethics in AI from different perspectives. And between those talks, we're going to have about 15 minutes break. So let's start with Mattias from AlgorithmWatch. I'm going to try this. So you want I think the speaker is on. Do you want like a heads up?
No, I take the hand.
Okay, great. If there's something else you need, do you want me to call you when it's 20 minutes?
That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I could just wave my hand. So.
But you need the. Oh, okay. This one is working. Okay, fantastic. Now we wait for the projection to come up. Hopefully, it will also only be 2 more seconds. Of course, we tested it before. Of course, it still doesn't work, even though we tested it before. I'll try that again. I wanted to show you a video clip.
Do we have someone from Telenor that can maybe help us with this?
Doesn't work, we just do it. Yeah, it works. Okay, we just forget about this and do it without projection. So, AlgorithmWatch, what is it? We are a non-governmental organization, we are a non-profit, and we've existed for 2.5 years. We started out as an initiative, meaning that we didn't have any legal entity, but it was 4 people who said that there is an issue here that needs attention, and that was algorithmic accountability. Why is that? I'm a journalist by profession. I studied philosophy, but also journalism, and I wouldn't consider myself a philosopher, so that leaves journalism. And there was an interesting paper that was published, about 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago, by Nicholas Diakopoulos, that's called Algorithmic Accountability Reporting on the Investigation of Black Boxes. And he argued that there is a role for journalists in holding algorithmic processes accountable. It wasn't about this whole idea of robot journalism and how, bots will take journalists' job. That's pretty boring. It was more about what are the challenges of algorithmic processes, automate decision-making to society, and what role journalists should have in this. So because of that, I teamed up with a couple of friends and colleagues, data journalists among them, a computer science professor, and we applied for research funding in Germany, and we didn't get it because people didn't understand the relevance of it, I'd say, because 2 years later, the same institution that denied our request put out a €5 million research program on the question. Anyways, the good thing that came of it was AlgorithmWatch, because we said, okay, let's team up. Why did that work when you did it and not when I did it? Okay, magic. Wonderful, magic. Yeah, it's my karma. It's not. Okay, so what we did is we decided that we just start as an initiative and see whether we get the attention that we think is there in society, and then we can try again with the funders. And that's exactly what happened. We created a website, we created our mission statement and a manifesto. we put that all online, and we launched it at a pretty big German, I mean, it's a German-based, Berlin-based, European internet culture conference. It's called Republica. About 7,000 people go there, and we got a slot in a very bad place, next to the toilets. It was very small, very crowded, very noisy, and still we got at least 4, I think, reports by different media outlets in Germany, because they also thought that the topic was interesting. And what was fascinating about this, I mean, I've been in this field of journalism and civil society for quite a long time, and I, in the past, have fought hard for attention for complex topics like copyright reform or privacy or data protection, you know, all the stuff that no one wants to deal with. And with this topic of automated decision making / AI, it was different. Like 8 days after we launched the platform, we were for the first time approached by a German TV station because there was a Facebook scandal. Now that rings a bell, right? I mean, it was like 2.5 years ago, it was one of these Facebook scandals. And they approached us because they considered us the experts on the topic, right? 10 days after we went online with our website. Now, that was a good sign, and there was more good stuff to follow because of this, because of the attention we got, we were then able to explain to funders in Germany that you know, there needs to be a professional organization, not just an initiative by 4 people doing it in their spare time. So we received funding. The first one was project funding, and we did an audit of Google's search results. Now, I quickly talk about this. I have to be quick with all these examples, right? Because I want to keep time or leave time for the discussion. So if you have more questions about this, please ask them later. I just go through this very quickly. And where did that come from?
So it's different tabs. So I just opened a new tab for you.
Ah, okay, it's your computer.
It is my computer.
Ah, well.
I just wanted you to have a
wonderful.
background.
No, thank you very much.
Sorry, I don't know how.
Okay, so that's the data donation project that we did. The way we set it up was, there's this discussion about the filter bubble, right? I'm not a big fan of the theory in general. I'm not going to discuss this now. But the thing is, there's not a lot of evidence about this. So what can you do to gather evidence? Well, you can, for example, try to find out whether Google serves different search results to different people, right? How do you do that? Well, you know, you can set up stuff on one computer, you can give them search queries all the time. It'll pretty soon recognize that they're all coming from the same machine, same IP address, and so on and so forth. So it's not going to be worth a lot. What can you do? Well, you can crowdsource the whole thing. We teamed up with Spiegel Online, which is the largest news website in Germany, so they have a lot of reach. And we developed a plugin for Firefox and Chrome and asked people to install it on their computers. And when they did, it would send the same search queries to Google over and over and over again from very different computers with different characteristics, right? Different browser history, people logged in with their Google account or not logged in with their Google account, cookies cleaned or not, stuff like that. So in the end, you can see we had 4,400 users almost install the plugin. Few of them used it continuously. There were about 300 to 400 who used it continuously. And if they did, the search queries, always the same search queries would be sent to Google, the results collected, and the stuff sent to us. So we ended up with almost 6 million search results that we were able to analyze and see whether, you know, there is actually such a thing as the echo chamber and your neighbor getting completely different search results than we do. What was the outcome? Well, Google does what it says it does, right? About 2% of personalized search results. Not very dramatic, right? But as I said, if you want to talk about this, you can't just speculate. You can't just take Google's word for it. You need to find out yourself. And because there are many... Should that irritate me? Well, it does. Okay, so Google is listening. So because there are a lot of people here who know about data analytics and statistics and all of that, I'll give away that there were many shortcomings with this, and I can explain in detail, but probably then, in bilateral conversations, because it's too complicated, why it ended up working like this. We had selection bias. Many people looked at this because they found out via Spiegel Online. So it's a certain set of people who installed their plugin. I mean, people being able to install a plugin in Firefox and Chrome are special people, right? Not in this room here, but in general they are. And so on and so forth. Okay, so still, it was like proof of concept, that you can do it. If you wanted to repeat it, you would have to do it with a lot more resources. You would have to have a representative sample of the of population, and you would have to have dynamic search queries that you can adjust to current affairs. If something is happening, you don't just want to send the same search query over and over again. But interesting, right? It also put us on the map of people who are actually trying to do auditing, external auditing of algorithms, right? As I said, I'm a journalist and I study philosophy. I don't know a lot about data analytics, so why can I even talk about this? Because we are an interdisciplinary team. We have computer scientists, we have software developers, we have data journalists, we have people like me. And we as a team try to set it up in a way that we can come up with meaningful results, right? So, how much time do I have? Because I'd like to talk about 2 more examples.
10 more minutes.
Okay, 10 more minutes.
13 more minutes.
Okay, so the next thing I'd like to show you is basically just a story that we did. And that's this one here. It's called High Risk Citizens. And it's about citizen scoring in the Netherlands, not in China, in the Netherlands. What are they trying to do there? They are trying to find out whether, for example, there is a high risk of people defrauding welfare payments, in certain areas. So they set up quite an interesting and sophisticated model for that, and they are. That's going to work well on the video recording, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's totally freaking me out.
They're working on turning it off.
Yeah, I thought so. I expected that, but anyway. We organized a track for algorithmic accountability reporting at the Data Harvest Conference, which is a conference for journalists and data journalists specifically that takes place once a year in Mechelen, close to Brussels. And we asked people to present examples of whether they are already doing stuff like algorithmic accountability from a journalistic point of view, from an academic point of view. And there were 2 people from a Dutch platform for human rights. And they had sued the state, the government, in the Netherlands because they said, this is not right. This doesn't comply, first of all, with data protection regulation. It's not okay that we don't know anything about how this whole thing works, and so on and so forth. So they had just started their lawsuit, and we invited them. And when we were in the same room with them, and they presented this, there were 2 other people from the Netherlands who were investigative journalists, who still are investigative journalists, and they had worked on credit scoring in the Netherlands. And they had never heard about the system, right? I mean, they were Dutch journalists working on something quite similar, and they weren't aware of that. So we thought, how can that be? We need to publish this. We need to put a story out on this, even if it is done on our website, which is not like a high-traffic website. So we did that. We had a colleague of mine who speaks Dutch just do regular journalistic research. He called the ministry, he asked what they know about this and what they